Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. My wife and I, 48 male, have a son, John, 26 male, who recently told us that he is asking his girlfriend, Cece, to marry him. We've met Cece a few times before, and she seems like a nice girl, but we have concerns about Cece's family. My wife and I own a few rental properties, and John stays in one of the properties rent-free, as he is still in grad school, and free housing is something my wife and I have always agreed to provide for all our kids, especially while they are in school, so that they don't have to worry about rent in a high cost of living area. The concern with Cece's family comes from having met the family a couple of times before. They seem inappropriately invested in my wife and I's finances, and Cece's mother, from what I've heard from my other kids and a little from John, is close to retirement, has no savings or plans set up for retirement. Her mother has multiple times attempted to move in and live rent-free in one of my properties because, according to her, it is her future son-in-law's house. My take is that Cece's mother sees John, who is about to graduate from med school, as their retirement security. John's my oldest, and I've signed a will where he gets a large amount of cash, plus the property that Cece's mother was trying to move into. I'm not sure if the mother knows that, and that's why she was trying to move in. But John does know about what he is inheriting. My biggest fear is that somehow that family will end up with a piece of the house for whatever reason once I pass. John has a pure heart and always sees the good in people, and I think his future mother-in-law will take advantage of that. When John told me he was getting married to Cece, I requested he signs a prenup to protect his inheritance, and also prenups are advisable in general. But he was vehemently against it. I told him that he will be written out of the will and the house will go to our other kids if he marries her without a prenup. But seems like he is not budging. So I've gone ahead and started plans to leave the house to my other kid. I think I have good reasons to not trust Cece's family and their intentions with my son. I'm not going to tell a grown man who he can and can't marry, but I want to protect what I'm leaving for my children. My son has stopped talking to me, and I'm not sure if I was that unreasonable. Update. A few things to add because my concerns about Cece's families are not coming out of nowhere. We are mostly concerned about the house. My son will still be receiving the huge chunk of cash on the will. He will be getting something, just not the house. Sorry, should have made that more clear. When my wife and I met Cece's mother, she's made multiple comments about how her future son-in-law has her retirement taken care of. And she has asked us multiple times if she could move into the house to the point where it was getting inappropriate. In my opinion, OP is not in the wrong for protecting his hard-earned money. OP's son is young and cannot see the red flags. Also, as OP said, he has a pure heart and always sees good in people. That means he can easily be manipulated. But I'm sure there must be a solution in this situation without ruining OP's relationship with his son. I think OP should speak to an attorney about a trust and stipulations with that trust around mother-in-law. And now let's see if the community agrees with me. Sunshine Shoulders 87 says, "Okay, so I think you should trust your gut. And based on the example of the future mother-in-law already pushing to live rent-free in your property, I think you're onto something. That being said, what you're considering will cause your son considerable pain, angst, and embarrassment. I realize 20-something-year-old me did, and nearly did, quite a few very stupid things with the best of intentions, so I recognize the need to protect him. Is there an option to place these properties in a trust so as to protect him, but also to not actually write him out of the will? Consult an attorney on the options for maximum protection and flexibility, of course, but it feels like it shouldn't have to be all or nothing. No a-holes. It's your property." Huggle Puggle says, "Not the a-hole. You could do a trust and have a trustee continue to exercise control after your death, or even in your will have a prenup clause. My father did that, where anyone who wants to inherit must have a prenup." Initial 728 says, "Not the a-hole. Trust your gut. Why should you have outsiders come in and take what you worked for? Maybe you want to leave your son a bit of cash, but nothing major that the in-laws could benefit from. It would be interesting to see how things would turn out if the girlfriend's family knew that your son was getting nothing and would not be funding their retirement, etc. I, 20 female, always wanted to go to medical school. I worked extremely hard in high school, was accepted into an excellent uni, took the maximum credits per semester, and will be graduating 1 year early from undergraduate. I'm currently deciding where I want to apply for medical school. My twin did well in high school and was accepted to a great liberal arts college, but never wanted to further his education beyond a bachelor's degree. He's not as certain or as driven as I am about what he wants to do in the future, and is still exploring majors. We each have our own college fund. They began with equal amounts, but our universities charge tuition by the semester. I'm studying incredibly hard to shorten my undergraduate time, so I can use the remainder of my college fund to help pay for med school and minimize the size of the loan I need to take out. He can graduate in the standard 4 years easily by continuing at the same pace, 3 to 4 courses a semester, or could even graduate a semester early due to the 30-plus AP credits he has from high school. His friends at school have roped him into living the college experience and convinced him to take extra semesters for easier course load, 1 to 2 required classes per semester with a lot of electives. In short, he will need about 2 extra years of university, which will cost nearly $100,000. My parents tried telling him that taking 5 or 6 years was unreasonable financially. A burnout, mental health gap year is an option because that doesn't cost money. But he just blocks their calls, saying that he knew that they would say that because I've always been their favorite child. When I graduate, I will have a substantial amount left in my fund on top of the money I get from my part-time job. Depending on the circumstances, I'm planning a 1-week Disney World vacation after I graduate that I'll be paying for myself. Edit. Clarification. I'm getting a part-time job at the cafe next year to pay for it, not using my parents' money. My parents feel guilty and keep hinting that they want to use the money in my fund to help him pay for his undergraduate degree, since he doesn't have a job or scholarships. I applied relentlessly since high school and entered competition, so I accumulated a few $100s here and there. But it's not as if I have a full ride to school. I have maybe $4,000 to $5,000. They think that it's selfish that I'm flaunting Disney World, and I could take out a loan for 100% of my medical school, or wait a few years since it's not as necessary as a bachelor's degree for him. Am I the a-hole for telling him he's a selfish brat and not taking any of my money? I don't think it's fair that I worked so hard since 9th grade to have him reap the rewards of my efforts. I'm incredibly angry and not talking to anyone at the moment. But my parents argue that it was their money in the first place and theirs to do as they wish, and for me not to feel entitled to their money. OP's parents need to start treating him like an adult for him to start acting like one. I would bet money that once OP is in her career and making good money, that they'll expect her to be the one financially helping them or other family members, even if they do take her college fund. So OP should make sure they know actions have consequences, and they better be rolling up to her twin when they eventually need help. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Tracy Min OB says, "Not the a-hole. Tell your parents you're upset and that they are in fact rewarding your brother's bad behavior. Why should you be penalized for doing everything right? Ask them if this happened in their work. How would they feel if they were working hard and going the extra mile, working there for years, and have the lowest team member promoted to their supervisor, getting paid more, while they still did all the work? Try to put it in a context that they can see more clearly." JP Katz says, "But my parents argue that it was their money in the first place, and theirs to do with as they wish, and for me to not feel entitled to their money. This is how old people get put into nursing homes by the kids they screwed decades ago. Not the a-hole. I'd be outraged that your parents are rewarding your brother's laziness, and in the meantime, your sacrifices, which should push you ahead, are being used against you. Maybe you would have liked to have had the college experience too, but were far more motivated than your brother. Your parents are awful." Deleted user says, "Not the a-hole. They will always reward their golden male child for his entitled behavior, and you will always be a scapegoat child. Do yourself a favor. Let go of it. Take loans for med school and cut the contact. You seem like a smart lady. You will earn in millions once you graduate med school. Him and your parents are unnecessary burdens you will carry into the future." I own 2 homes. The one I live in is in a nice area, and I plan on dying there. The second one was my mother's, and it needed work, but it is a very nice home. I made it clear that I will reward the kids if they helped me fix it up. I have 1 daughter and 2 sons. I truly thought my sons would help out, but they didn't even when I asked. My daughter, to the other hand, went full force into fixing the home. At one point, I just gave her the keys and told her I trusted her. The whole thing helped us bond more than ever, and she learned a ton of skills. I think she tossed herself into this project to distract her from her ex. Anyways, it took about 1 year of doing work each weekend, and the home is looking great. Originally, I was going to sell and give everyone that helped the money from the sale, but she's the only one that helped. I know she was looking for a house, and this spot is almost perfect. Close to work, good area, not far from her friends and family. I decided to give her the home. I called her down and had all the paperwork. She was excited and happy. Now I'm getting crap from my 2 sons about giving her a home. I made it clear that they didn't help, so why would they get anything from that house? They've both called me a jerk, that I'm a jerk for giving her a $700,000 home, and that they got nothing at all. CKP Try says, "Not the a-hole. Your home to do with as you like. Putting in every weekend for a year is a lot of work, and your sons are resentful now that they see the reward was worth it." Well, I think kids shouldn't only help you when they will be paid. Looks like OP taught her sons an expensive life lesson. Really, the only relevant thing would be their ability to help, which OP has indicated was roughly equal. OP should ask her sons why they feel entitled to something they actively refuse to help with, even when asked. If OP made the circumstances clear and they made this choice, that's on them. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Officer 340 says, "Not the a-hole. You were very clear. Whomever helps will be rewarded. Your sons did not help. Your daughter did, and sounds like she put in a ton of effort into it as well. As far as I would be concerned, she earned that home. Hard work, be rewarded. Do nothing, get nothing. Your son should understand that now, so it is also a good parenting lesson. I would tell them that you're disappointed in them for not helping, and that this should be a lesson to them." Is This Rabbit says, "Mom tells the kids she needs help. She tells them she will make it worth their while. The sons can't be bothered, not even once. The daughter, on the other hand, jumps in and gets her hands dirty. Great call, Mom. Not the a-hole. Hopefully your sons will learn something from this." Basically, as it says in the title, my husband relapsed from alcoholism recently and died in a single-vehicle DUI. I was already pissed enough about that as it was. His addiction has been a major point of contention in our relationship for years now. But days later, when I was going through his devices, for pictures, etc., I found messages with a girl that made it clear he'd been cheating on me for at least a year. Not only that, this girl was young, had to be at least 19 years old, while husband and I are, I guess was in this case, still feels weird to say, in our mid-late 30s. So not only did he relapse again, get his dumb butt killed from his relapse, was cheating on me when he knew how much cheating would hurt me. I had been cheated on before in a prior relationship. It had devastated me, and when I met him, he always went on about how he had been cheated on too, knew how much it hurt, would be patient with my trust issues, etc., because I deserve better than that. Ducking liar. But was also a disgusting creep to boot. After finding the evidence of this, something in me just broke. I was already hurting and so angry at him for the drinking and the fight we've had recently, that when I saw those messages, I was just done. My pain evaporated. My grief shriveled up as I felt the man I had been mourning was not the man I knew after all, and my emotions just switched to being furious at the cheating instead. To be honest, the closest thing I can describe to how I feel about him now is hatred. But that seems a bit harsh a word for a man I had loved who just died, so I don't know. Still, his family was devastated by his loss. They had already lost so many family to addiction. His father, one of his sisters, and a cousin, in one way or another. And to lose him too seriously devastated his mother and surviving sister and brothers in a bad way. So I put on a brave face, got through the whole funeral process, wore my black, etc. I even did cry, a lot, but just not because of his death. Moreover, everything in general. I just didn't tell his family that. So anyways, sorry for rambling. The reason I'm posting is because it's been a few months now since his accident, and honestly, aside from having to deal with the betrayal and how confused my emotions were finding out so soon after losing him, I'm doing perfectly fine. My feelings about my husband are still very complicated. I'm still very angry and raw at him for what he's done, but also feel some guilt about feeling that anger since he died, and made worse by the fact that that anger has kept me from feeling much. Okay, I'll be honest, any grief. I've even started very cautiously, casually dating again, but mostly just for fun. I definitely am not ready for something serious again anytime soon, if ever. My job's going well. I hang out with my friends whenever I can, and I'm just fine. You wouldn't even know I was a recent, less than 3 months, widow, if you didn't already know. Which his family found out about. My sister-in-law caught me out on one of those dates a few nights ago. Small town, only like 2 bars to choose from. What can you do? And she went off on me, going on about how I'm betraying her brother's memory, that clearly I never loved him to have moved on so fast, calling me every name in the book, and just causing this massive scene, scared my date off. I was already tipsy at this point, so I snapped back at her that she was right. I didn't love her brother anymore after finding out he clearly never loved me either, since he was willing to break his vows to me for some barely legal hoo-ha. Why should I give a damn about someone like that when he knew I'd been hurt bad by cheating before? I told her he's dead. He broke my heart on his way out, killing any affection I had for him before, and I'm over it. I'm living my life now. Kindly piss off, please. Not exactly in those words. I don't remember what the exact things I said were, but that's the gist. I already know I'm the a-hole for going off on her like that, especially in public, so no need to judge me on that front. But she's rallied up the rest of the family into harassing me, calling me heartless, loveless, unwilling to forgive a dead man after a tragedy. How could I throw away my husband so easily, etc., etc. And it's not exactly done wonders for the guilt I've been feeling about not mourning him. Makes me feel insecure, and that, hey, maybe there is something wrong with me, and I am a heartless bee here. So, Internet, just shouting this out into the void here because why not? Am I the a-hole for not being in mourning for my recently deceased husband? Particular Title 42 says, not the a-hole. This is one of those unfortunate situations where it sounds like the death was a sigh of relief. And honestly, nobody should be telling anybody else how to grieve unless it's directly affecting others. Gullible Pilot says, not the a-hole. You can't get closure to your husband's infidelities. You can't get closure to his relapse. His family cannot tell you how to feel because they haven't lived it. Hugs for all you're dealing with right now. VZVV says, not the a-hole at all. It is right to put yourself and your future first. You are not heartless. Your late husband betrayed you terribly. Of course you feel this way. When you are further from the shock, you may, or may not, find that your grief is more complex than it appears right now. But you don't owe his memory any reaction. Your anger and lack of grief are understandable. I understand why you went off on his sister when confronted like that, but it is probably best to keep as much distance as possible between you and his family going forward. While they're mourning, you are unfortunately an easy target for their anger. You and his family are going to be unhealthy for each other.